just want to do a quick explanation of what actually is considered verbal abuse. Verbal abuse is a type of psychological, mental abuse that involves the use of oral language, gestured language, and written language directed to a victim. Verbal abuse can include the act of harassing, labelling, insulting, scolding, rebuking, excessive yelling towards an individual. Have you ever been in a situation where you want to try and have a meaningful discussion with your spouse or your partner, and you open up the conversation, but when you try to open up the conversation, he shuts you down, changes the subject, or then starts to get angry and shows you a different side because he doesn't like what you want to talk to him about, and he manipulates and twists the situation so that you can't actually speak. And every time that you try to have a conversation around something, then a same thing happens where he gets angry, loses his temper. Later he might apologise and say, oh, he was sorry, he got frustrated, or it's a busy time, and he make excuses. Or sometimes the apology is something like, I'm sorry you got upset, which is not a real apology. It's one of those fake apologies. So this video is basically just a few examples of how anger, rage and verbal abuse can happen in an intimate relationship. So these examples are from a meeting that was held so that we were supposed to be discussing an email of a financial proposal that I had written and sent to my now ex-partner, who was still living with me in Spain at the time. He was about to leave a few weeks later. This is how he closed down the conversation. So if I look and find it, so I can...
hang on, before you find it, you need to be absolutely clear about what I want and need, because reading through this document you put together, I don't really think you've listened at all to what I need. Or maybe I haven't made it clear enough. So I need to make clear to you what I want and what I need.
So in that small clip, he is telling me what he wants, what he needs, and has shut me down, so I can't open the financial proposal that I had written, and we can't discuss any of its contents. That we've already discussed this, but we haven't actually discussed this. He actually comes to a conclusion and tells me we've discussed it.
I want a clean break. That's what we said, that's what we discussed, and that's what I want.
He wants a clean break. He didn't get a clean break. Reason being, he left me here with no job, no income, in a place of grief, fear, anxiety. 2 weeks after he left, he was threatening me with eviction through the courts. Even before he left, he was threatening me with my suitcases out of the door, and he was, well, verbally abusive, angry. I was frightened and scared and couldn't actually say anything to him for fear of invoking more anger, rage and verbal abuse. Apparently, after he had brutally, abruptly terminated our relationship just the week before, in this conversation he was telling me that I hadn't considered what he wanted.
The point is, you haven't considered me and what I want.
This next section is a little bit of classic let's stay friends. keep it amicable, where he tells me what it is that he wants.
Now I'm telling you what I want. I want it over and done with. If we can stay friends, let's stay friends, but I want it over and done with.
In this next section, he is going to tell me what he thinks of my ideas, how I have wrote this financial proposal and sent it to him in an email.
It's a terribly, terribly, terribly bad idea, and it isn't going to happen.
He then tells me that he needs to get 115,000 euros from sale of the Spanish house, and then he basically says he's not going to get back what he's invested, which is like just over 200,000 euros, and then he says this:
unless I cut you off with nothing.
Then he says it's not his intention.
And it's not my intention to cut you off with nothing.
But actually, it's exactly what he did. And then because I had basically written out a GoFund page for a business idea that I had and shared it privately with some friends, and he had seen it after one of our friends had shared it publicly, and he was saying that I had been disrespectful. And this is how he responds to what he thought of doing earlier that day.
And I bloody will, because I was deciding whether to give you 24 or 48 hours this afternoon.
24 or 48 hours of what?
To get out of here, after what you fucking put up on that bloody internet. You still don't seem to understand how deeply offensive that was.
So now, because I've wrote a GoFund page with a business idea and mentioned the fact that I'm now in a precarious position, it's deeply offensive. I'm then told that I lack empathy. I think it's what they call projection.
Again, you seem to lack any empathy for me at all. I keep seeing this more and more in you.
He then sets out his idea of this financial proposal so that I have some financial security. But then he actually says that there's something that I don't understand. And this is what he says.
You do not negotiate a gift. You cannot negotiate a gift.
You do not negotiate a gift. You cannot negotiate a gift. He recognises the fact that even if he is to continue the bills at this house, I would still need some money, I would still need some income. I had already asked him in advance, because his first proposal was telling me he would help with half of the property sale, but he would help me by paying off or redeeming a mortgage, and that would help me to have an income. Now he is moving the goalposts, because he is now going to offer a payment of 500 a month into one of my accounts, so that I've got some sort of income after he is left.
Even if I continue to pay the bills here, you still need money.
So what he says is he comes out with it. There's no discussion around this. Arbitrarily sets a deadline.
I propose we set a deadline of the 15th of January. That gives you just over 4 months. 4 months. Not 1 month, not 3 months. 4 months.
So he's given me 4 months, and in that 4 months he's proposing that he would pay 500 each month into my business account in the UK, which then that would help me with an income while the property was actually on the market for sale. then for some reason he thinks it will only take 4 months.
And by the 15th of January, I want this over with. One way or another, this is going to be over.
So I was being told one way or another it was going to be over with. And in my head, when he's saying this, 4 months, I've got 4 months, and it would be over with, that was when a little voice was saying, oh, I'll just kill myself, should I? The thing is, he obviously had everything that he wanted to say was planned out. I hadn't planned anything because I was thinking of opening up the proposal and talking about the proposal I'd written, which actually included putting my name on the property deed before he would leave. And that's probably why he said it was a terribly, terribly, terribly bad idea. And when he talks about we in this discussion, we is him, or we is I, his idea, because nothing has been discussed. And this is what he says.
If we agree that this is what you're going to do, and you agree to behave as I've requested.
What's the behaviours you request?
That you don't do stupid stunts like this thing you did on Gofundme. That you take care of the house, that you don't get in the way of selling it, and that you behave decently and treat the house with respect and treat me with respect. That's all, because I'm trying very hard to treat you with respect.
So he tried very hard to treat me with respect, but actually he had basically disrespected me, not once, but twice. So he then sort of goes 10 minutes into a whole load of figures and how much he's prepared to provide, and all of the different permutations. And then he basically lets me know about what's going to happen at the 15th of January.
If you don't buy it on the 15th of January, if the place isn't sold by the 15th of January, I am moving back in on the 16th of January. You've got 4 months in this house, and if you haven't bought it, and if it isn't sold, I'm moving back in.
So he was going to move back in on the 16th of January. That didn't happen actually, because the whole thing went into a massive train crash after that, because obviously I realised of the situation that I was now in. And then asked if I have any questions, and the only question that I can think of in my confused state after listening to everything he said is, why the 15th of January? And that's the only question I could think of. I had forgotten that it was the 15th of September, and so basically he then explains, because of Christmas, 2 months would be too short, Christmas coming in the way, so then he was giving us until January, which was 4 months. So I had 4 months to sort myself out. But then he gets angry as well, and this is how that particular thing goes. When I question the deadline that he has just arbitrarily set, he gets amazingly angry.
You can't negotiate with me, Lorraine. I've just told you why. It's my choice. I'll make it the 15th of fucking November if I want to. Don't fuck about with me. I've told you 4 months. I've told you the 15th of January. You asked me why? I said because of Christmas. Do not push your luck. You understand me? Perfectly. Good. Don't take the piss out of me. You've had 1 strike already and you are that far away to having your fucking suitcase thrown out the fucking door. So just be careful how you tread. Like I said to you this afternoon, your future security depends on having me on your side, so don't alienate me. And I've told you already, you can't negotiate a gift.
So that was what happened.
So I'm telling you how it's going to be, and you have various options open to you. Help me sell this place, buy it yourself, or just sit here until the 15th of January and fuck off. But I am not letting you stay here indefinitely, and I don't intend to kick you out this side of Christmas.
After I'd already been threatened on the 4th of September, when another agent gave him some feedback that I had said some negative comments about the noise from the motorway that runs next to the house, when he came into the bedroom and basically wagged his finger in my face and telling me that, you know, I could be kicked out of the house, and he was one who was obviously in control. So then, you know, he is telling me he still wants to keep it amicable.
I want this to stay amicable, Lorraine. That's what I've said from the start.
He wanted to keep it amicable from the start. Only thing was, he wasn't very friendly in his nature. So the conversation moves along to the actual GoFund page that he'd seen earlier in the day, and the feedback that I receive is this.
Well, the punctuation's shit, and the spelling's shit, but worse than that, it's disgusting. Saying stuff like that, it's disgusting. How would you feel if I'd said something about you like that, if I'd slurred you like that? Damn it, you know, I hadn't touched anything on Facebook, I didn't touch the relationship with you or anything until you were ready to change it. I've tried to treat you gently, and here you are, calling me a cunt all over the fucking internet.
I don't think the words were cunt.
No, they weren't. You might just as well be, but actually what it does is it shows you up for the loser that you are. That's what that does. That shows you up for the loser you are. Quite apart from the fact you're auctioning my fucking house on the internet with my fucking permission. Don't worry, I've checked very carefully with Gofundme, and I could get you banned for what you've done.
This next section is how he perceives my GoFund page as being all about him and what he's done.
Spiritual retreat on the bloody internet and say a load of crap about my infidelity and ripping your life to bits. It's appalling. It's disgusting. And if you do anything like it again, I'll be back to thinking, should I give you 24 hours or 48? Don't think for a moment that I'm going to be a pink fluffy dom if I make my mind up about that. Because it'll happen quickly and it won't be pleasant. And I'm not making an idle threat, I'm informing you of what will happen if you pull another stunt like that. You better think through very carefully how I might react to things. You better think that through.
This next section is the part that the case of gender violence was all based on this little tiny snippet in 23 minutes of a recording where I threatened a few times. This is how he loses his temper again.
I don't give a flying fuck what Jackie or anyone else thinks. For fuck's sake, I don't give a fuck.
Nobody.
They're not going to give you feedback and say, actually, you look like a fucking bleeding heart post-menopausal sad old bitch who's been fucking dumped on her own again. Doesn't look great. Doesn't look like a very good advert for a spiritual fucking retreat. No, they're not going to tell you that, are they? They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you how pathetic it looks. They're not going to tell you how it might offend me. Why would they? I think you've seriously underestimated just what a bad thing you've done there.
I'm then told that I've got bad judgment, and I say something like, you could say that again in a very quiet voice, and he basically loses it again.
Well, if you want to play bad judgment games, Lorraine, yes, the whole fucking thing's been one big bad judgment right from the very beginning, but the thing is, I'm the one that's paying the price for it now financially, not you.
He's the one who's paying the price for it financially now. Thing is, he was always doing this thing, repeating the same mistakes of the past and having to pay for it financially. So obviously he didn't pay for it financially, but he obviously had to pay to go through the court system to have me evicted from the property that we were supposed to share, and spend his money on a specialist lawyer from Barcelona to be acting in the court in Cartagena, in order to have me evicted from his house. The way he speaks, sometimes he lowers his voice, and there's sort of intimidation in some of what he says, and makes you feel uncomfortable. So this is what he said.
You've had a nice, easy ride. You might not think you've had an easy ride, but you've had an easy ride living out here in all of this, making it your fucking dream. And I'm the one that's been fucking working for it. I'm the one that's been tearing my arse up and down the fucking motorways. I'm the one that's been driving myself into the ground to raise the money to pay for all of this, and to keep you out here. And now guess what? I'm back doing it again. I need to get this polypipe job done, because that's going to be the bulk of the money towards your mortgage. Here's me again, dragging my sorry ass through airports and up and down fucking motorways to raise money, to send you money every month while you sit here on your ass thinking up fucking pipe dreams and telling the world what a cunt I am. You have no moral high ground at all, Lorraine, because we haven't talked about why our relationship failed, and it's not all down to me. It's not all down to me, and we don't need to talk about it because it's over.
And we don't need to talk about it because it's over. No closure. And then told he wants all the financial ties cut. And that doesn't happen, because obviously when he leaves me here, because of COVID and all the restrictions on evictions, then he can't actually get an early eviction. And so from October of 2020, when I was first given his email to say we'd go to court, it's taken till June of 2022. So what he was saying didn't actually work through.
But I want all those financial ties cut. Clear? Do you understand? Do you understand? There's no use just looking at me with your angry face. I want to know that you understand.
That's not an angry face.
Well then, do you understand me?
It's quite clear.
Right.
You're making yourself perfectly clear.
Well then, if you want to think about it, go away and think about it, because I'll be back tomorrow, if the van comes tomorrow.
And then I have to go away and think about it, but to be honest, what's the point? Because I had received his Dear Lorraine letter with his financial proposal to consider, and in that financial proposal there was no solid time frames, no solid sort of financial remedy, which it wasn't going to work. He was leaving me with no income, and I tried to negotiate it, and this is the outcome. You can't negotiate with me. You can't negotiate a gift.